We've had a lot of comments from people who are able to see the film in festivals. Like they really want to bring their parents or their partners, just to understand what it is that this army thing has been all about. Coming into a theater, it's kind of like going to a concert, It's just like this opportunity to really be together and like enjoy together, laugh, cry, scream, fan chant, all of those things. We hope that can happen too.
Hi everyone, my name is Cece.
I'm Chris Molly.
And this is
Pod in the Verse.
This is the fan first podcast that explores everything about the music world.
Episode by episode, we'll dive deep into the latest Weverse content, get to know other fans, and stay up to date with what's going on in the K-pop world.
So, grab your favorite headphones,
get comfortable,
and dive into the pod with us. So, Chris Molly, I noticed that we're matching.
I know, for the first time.
It's a special occasion. Clearly, there's a lot of like really, really good merch here from Weverse.
Yes.
And it's safe to say that this episode is very special because we have very special and important guests.
Very important.
Yes. So should we introduce them?
We should introduce them. Tell the folks who you are.
Woohoo!
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Grace Lee, and I'm an independent filmmaker based in Los Angeles. And I'm one of the directors and producers of Forever We Are Young, a documentary about BTS Army.
Yay. Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is, first of all, thanks for having us. My name is Patty On. I'm one of the directors of Forever We Are Young, and I am also Army and a professor of K-pop at the University of California, San Diego, and really happy to be here to talk about all things Army.
I mean, we're both Army. I think we're all Army here, right?
I love that. We are all Army here.
Yes.
So truly, today's episode is just a conversation about our love for BTS and what has shaped our lives the most, which is being an Army, truly.
Yeah, and I think it's so amazing to have you both here because we'll get into this, obviously, in just a moment. But celebrating BTS is also to celebrate Army.
Of course. It's impossible to talk about Army without BTS and impossible to talk about BTS without mentioning Army. So let's get right into it. You mentioned it a little bit about how you both made this film called Forever We Are Young. Both Chris Molly and I watched it, and we came out of that theater with like so many thoughts, and I think we both felt really seen and heard through the documentary in different ways too.
Yeah.
But I think that is the magic of the movie, and we'd love to hear about how it came to be and just, how it's being born into the world.
Awesome. Yes. Well, thank you so much for seeing it and seeing us. I would say that, as we mentioned, we're both Army. This documentary came about, Patty and I, well, I guess about 3 years ago, started developing this idea together, sort of looking at, as Armies, we sort of have kind of been on this journey. But this moment where BTS went into the military, like after 10 years, it felt like this opportunity to really take stock and look inward and look back at how we got here. So the film is actually, through the personal stories of many Armies, we understand both the trajectory of the band and also the fandom.
Yeah, I mean, Grace and I were friends for a while before the film came about. We just knew each other through the filmmaking community and just through the Korean-American community of Los Angeles. And then she found out that I was Army basically through Instagram because I was posting about going to concerts and loving BTS. And she reached out to me like, let's grab lunch and let's talk about Army and being Army. And she's like, we have, I think it would be great to like make a documentary about this fandom and about this phenomenon. And I was like, absolutely, yes, let's do it. And I think, being Army together and making this film together, it brought us even closer. And now we're bonded not just as friends and fellow filmmakers, but as fellow fans of BTS. So that's how the film came about.
Yeah, I would just add that I've been making films for over 20 years, documentaries about many different topics. And Army, the films I've made have all dealt with so many different aspects of, culture, politics, history, looking at different communities, and Army really kind of encompassed all of those things, whether it's it's an identity, it's a community, it's also a movement. And so it sort of felt kind of in the same wheelhouse. And I knew Patty is also a professor of K-pop. And so I felt that we could, bring something together in this moment, looking back to really tell a story about something that deserves to be told. It's a historic band. It's in a historic fandom. And,
Right.
this is the moment in history to really delve into that.
I love that because it feels like such a natural thing then for you both to do as people who knew each other through this mutual bond, and then this mutual bond just kind of grew the more you worked on this project together. But being ARMY for so long and attacking like such a big topic, because you said at that point you were thinking about it after their 10 years. What was like the most challenging part to making this documentary?
So many challenges. I mean, first of all, it's a gigantic global fandom. I mean, how possibly can you tell every single story in 90 minutes, I mean, we could make an endless series about ARMY if we wanted, right? We would still be working on it today. So that was one challenge. The other was just within a very limited period of time, how do we actually bring in the stories and the people who are going to convey sort of the major milestones of both the band and the fandom? That was another challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we made this film as a love letter to ARMY, right? A film by ARMY for ARMY. But of course, we wanted the film to speak to people who are outside the fandom, people who aren't familiar with Korean music, with K-pop, with BTS. And so some of the challenges were also like, how do we speak directly to the fandom, but then also like introduce people to BTS? And it's they've been around for 10 years, more than that at this point. When we started, it was around 10 years. And there's just so much to cover and so many different pockets and aspects of the fandom and the band to kind of to relay. So it was just kind of like balancing that act of speaking to non-fans and fans at the same time. Yeah.
I love that. Sometimes I feel like I love that there's more projects being made for K-pop, but sometimes I do feel like they do lack the part that really draws in current fans instead of just serving to maybe more so educate others. And that's something that I really did love while watching the film, is that I didn't feel like I was being spoken at. Like it felt like I was like spoken to. Like because you became a fan at this point, you would know what had happened.
Right.
But it was in such a way that I don't feel like it excludes anybody.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't matter what year you like entered the fandom. I think you felt like you could relate to the documentary in different ways, you know? So I think for both of us, because we're older ARMY, I think there's this part of the documentary that talked about the challenge of the sensitivity and also like how seeing them grow up so fast in like a certain time period was like a big change for the older fandom. So that's how I felt really heard. And so I bet for the newer fans, it showcases like BTS in the recent years, like they were able to feel relatable in that way, but also, as you said, like educated on like their whole trajectory, because BTS has been around for a long time.
Yeah, and that was actually the feeling I remember I had when they first started becoming more global. Was the first feeling I had was, what do you mean like starting? They've been here for a while.
Yeah.
Like I felt very like, wait a minute, I've known about these guys for a minute.
I've known about the emo phase, like
the Sesame Leaf hair was a good era.
I knew.
Yes. When they were literally bulletproof Boy Scouts. Like, and that was how I was talking about them.
Cutting his hair in danger. Like, I knew all of that.
I was so shocked. And so seeing them like approach it the way fans actually felt about it, because there were real fans talking about that experience, I was like, oh, never mind. This is giving me something that I didn't know I wanted.
Say more.
And it's such a unique perspective.
Oh my God, you're like making my heart glow.
It's rooted in the fans' experiences, I mean, we specifically when we were quote unquote casting this documentary, it's not really casting, but when you're looking for people to speak to all of these moments, we really took a long time and a lot of care to find the people who could talk about what it meant to be like pre-debut ARMY, talk about what it meant to be at that first show at the Troubadour in Los Angeles for free for 200 people, talk about what it's like to be at specific concerts. I think that is, it's really rooted in the experience. And we also wanted the film to be an experience for the fans watching, and anyone watching. If you're new to BTS, if you're new to ARMY, the whole thing is an experience. And I think that's really one of the things that was driving us. Like, how do we feel when we go to a BTS concert? Maybe we can convey that in this movie.
Yeah, I think we just really also wanted to pay homage to every era of the fandom, right? Because the fandom has changed so much over time. So paying homage to the pre-debut army, to the debut army, to the Wings army, to the pandemic army. And so we just wanted to show, different ways of honoring all the different eras that people have come into the group, into the space. Yeah.
And I think it's just such a unique perspective that often is overlooked, right? Like when we talk about artists, most of the time it's like artists and
Right.
fans. But like I
Yeah.
think the way that the documentary kind of really puts like the fans first, like BTS is who they are today because of how ARMY supported them. And you talked about this too with like the radio
Oh my
dynamic that
gosh.
happened, which I didn't even know even as an old ARMY. And I was like, that is mind blowing to me. Like the whole strategy that they had. And so I think in that sense, I was like, oh, I'm learning new things too.
Yes. You have no idea. This is like music to my ears. Yes.
Truly, again, because it's like so many things that are coming out now. It's amazing that we have much more content coming out about K-pop, about people giving you overviews of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can tell when the people who are doing this were fans first, because they truly attack it with the lens of, but what do we want to see? What do we want to hear? What's the stuff that we like to brag about? Because that is something that even though it's been years, fans still brag about that. Like, if not for us, they would like we got them on the radio because nobody wanted to pay attention to music that was outside of the West. And it was all of that calling and organizing and the way that they just had this huge effort. And it just brought me back to the moment of like 2017-ish when I was like, wait, what? Am I hearing them on the radio? What is this? What's going on? This isn't my playlist.
But how was it for both of you, like revisiting that pivotal moment for ARMY and BTS? And how was like narrating that story,
So you're referring to the radio campaign after BTS had won, Best Social Artist, right, at the American Music Awards. But then why are they still not being played on American radio? So we go into this story quite in depth, looking at the sort of armies who are behind the scenes to make that happen. And it's a really great story. I think it was one of the key stories. We actually met somebody who was one of the organizers from California, and then basically started, following different paths to find others who could help tell this story. It was pretty mind-blowing just because you really see the power of ARMY and what, regular people who came together first in a group chat, how they decided to organize and what they did. And it's a real lesson, for, a movement and also collective energy, and also doing it in a way that is kind of inspiring to me now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say kind of revisiting that moment, just seeing ARMY achieving the impossible. I mean, Asian artists in the US have historically had a really difficult time crossing over onto radio, and to see how ARMY just collectivized and mobilized and got really creative with how they were kind of putting pressure on radio stations to play BTS. It was just so like inspiring, and it just feels like, wow, we could do anything, and so just creative strategizing and all the organizing aspects of it, to me, were just really moving, and just to kind of get into the nitty gritty details of how they did it. Was just mind-blowing. So I hope people have a good time watching that piece of the film.
I think we jumped a little bit far ahead because we got so excited. But thanks so much for sharing like how that story came to be. Let's go back a little bit. I think we talked about this, how you showcase different fans from different places. I'm curious to know how that came to be too. And also how you guys decided, we want to include actual fans in the documentary instead of being like, we're just going to narrate the story, So I think even just how the documentary, like that lens, like how that was decided and how all of these fans were casted.
Well, it was always going to be rooted in the stories of the fans, the personal stories of the fans. And so it was really important to find, like I said, people from around the world who represented different eras, everyone has a different way that they got into BTS, different moments when they came in, different biases, and so we wanted to be able to kind of juggle all of these things together and put it into the mix. I mean, it's a lot of hard work just kind of like
Yeah.
searching there are people we had our eye on, some certain people who we might have seen online. We met people at concerts, and just started talking to them. I mean, I can say this, we were in Korea in November 2023 doing some research. We were at the Jungkook Golden Showcase, and we saw this woman walking around with the Mexican flag tied around her neck. It said Mexicans for Jungkook. And then we realized there was like a whole group of Mexican fans who were there for the concert. We started talking to them and realized they were like, you should come to Mexico, right? We have incredibly passionate fans here. And then we just started talking. We did this with many, many people. And eventually, we did go to Mexico, and we found like an entire community that sort of represents, so many different fan bases around the world.
I think that's such a cool inclusion, because I know that at the time when BTS debuted, it was like 2013. And as a fan who is like non-Asian, Latina, like seeing other like Latina fans who do not have any Asian descendants on the screen talking about their experience finding BTS felt very like, oh wow, it really wasn't like just me in my room going through this. There were so many others just like me. And at that moment, for me, it's harder to connect with them. But seeing them on screen is like, wow, but we were all such big fans and listening together.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, also just that it's beautiful to hear that. And I'm so glad it resonated on your side. And I think, representing the Spanish speaking fandom was important to us too. And but also, there was an American story that we wanted to tell just because we're based in the US and Korean American. And there was such a powerful aspect of how BTS crossed over because of ARMY and the kind of organizing power of ARMY. And it was also important for us to represent Korea too, right? This is also a Korean story. And so I wish we could represent the entire world, but that's kind of how it ended up linguistically in terms of who we represented. And also, we picked certain campaigns that we wanted to really foreground and spotlight. And so we had to make sure that it was the fans that were involved directly in the lead of those campaigns that spoke on behalf of themselves and told those stories. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And I know we're talking about identity a lot, right? Like your identity as Korean American filmmakers, Chris Molly's US Hispanic ARMY experience.
Yes.
So how do you think for both of you, how your identity played into this whole filmmaking experience? I know that you highlighted different identities on this documentary. So how was that experience like? And how do you think it helped you shape the documentary better?
I mean, I think we all have multiple identities within us. And I think, speaking to the Korean American part, growing up born and raised in the US Midwest, at the time where I grew up, nobody knew anything about Korea, right? And just watching over the last few decades how Korean culture through K-pop, K-dramas, K-cinema, food, makeup, everything, has really exploded, has been incredibly fascinating, as also, being a Korean American. And I think BTS is part of that, part of this whole wave that has happened. And it was just an opportunity to really explore that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, part of what drew and continues to draw me and Grace to ARMY, and kind of the joy of being part of ARMY, is the kind of culture of care and collectivity and community. That is just a foundation and root of the fandom. And for me, actually, a lot of those values and ideas feel very Korean to me. And part of what I see as Korean culture. And I think it comes from also the way that BTS models that in, off the stage too, in their reality shows and on their lives. And so for me, I'm like, oh, this is telling the story of ARMY is also telling a particular story of the way of a certain kind of Korean-ness that I love and appreciate and value. And so I think that sort of comes through for me, that aspect of Korean identity comes through in a representation of ARMY.
Yeah, and in the film, somebody says, it's actually a Mexican fan who says, more than a fandom, it feels like a family. And I think that what Patty's just alluding to in terms of we're all part of this big family, right? And maybe we're all part of families. We don't have to be Korean to be part of families. But I think that is sort of infused in it for me.
I think it does help connect people across barriers and culture. I mean, ARMY, what you did with the film. I know that, I used to teach in Korea for a couple of years. And literally almost every single time, I would meet a new student, sometimes they would just ask me, teacher, like, do you know BTS? And like with such pride, because they're just like that's
It's Korea's
like
pride.
that's Korean. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, yeah, I know, and I love it, and it's great. And they're just, and even to the point of like, we were able to use the clip of BTS speaking like English in our classes.
Oh.
And it was like a way of the kids like looking like, wow, like they're so global. They're on these stages. Like I could stand there too.
Mhm.
Like instead of just showing them videos of any random person speaking in English, like somebody who looks like them up on a stage speaking to the world, doing an address, and people listening and clapping for them, I think it really helped them to identify with like, I can basically do anything because they also come from here the way I do. And it was really, really important to
That's
me.
really inspiring.
Yeah, I think that it helped so many people, even like the littlest kids, like literally 5-year-olds.
Yeah, they look at them and they're their role models, you know?
Wait, where in Korea were you teaching and what years was this? I'm so fascinated now.
I was in Korea from 2019 to 2022.
Oh,
So 1 year before the pandemic and then 2 years of
Wow.
the pandemic. So I was there actually when Baskin Robbins was doing a BTS ice cream promotion for like Dynamite. I'm telling, I remember because the flavor was actually very good. It was like this blueberry yogurt flavor. It was very good. But yes, like I was in Korea at a time where the
was
boom
peak.
happened
Yeah.
for people listening. Yes. Like I remember at that moment in like 2019, I thought, yeah, they're pretty big. Like, you know, I don't know how much bigger anyone can get because everybody loves them. But the pandemic though, all of a sudden everybody I was meeting, BTS fans everywhere.
Yeah.
I was also thinking that in 2019. I'm like, how much bigger could they possibly get? And I was like, I shouldn't have spoken. That's like 3 times as big. Yeah.
Shouldn't have said
Sorry, I
anything.
interrupt you, Sissy.
I mean, I think what you just said about the Korean language class, it sort of speaks to what we were just talking about. Like over, you know, my Korean's fine, you know what I mean? But I, every once in a while, go take a conversation class to brush up or whatever. And I've just noticed over the years that the classes have been increasingly, they're like no Koreans in the class except for me. They're all there because of K-pop, BTS, you know, K-dramas. And, you know, it's fascinating. And we met tons of fans in Korea who are not Korean, who are living there now because of BTS.
Well, a lot of those Mexican fans that we ran into at the Jungkook showcase moved to Korea basically and are living there. So they weren't just visiting for the concert. I would say half of them are now based there. So
Yeah.
Life-changing.
Life-changing. I think for me, really like as a really old, just K-pop fan, I never thought that we would reach like this point.
Oh yeah, me either.
Like K-pop was just, it was something I was embarrassed of when I was younger because
Oh yeah.
I grew up in Argentina and then me and my sister were like 2 out of the 5 Asians at school, you know, like it was, everyone else was like Latino. And so I remember like just like watching BTS videos as a kid, people would be like, who are they? Like, why is it all just like 7 Chinese dudes? And I'm like, first of all, they're not Chinese. Get cultured, you know? But I think I was like really embarrassed to show that at school.
Yeah.
And like, so it was something that it was never talked about. And so I think for me, even to this day, when people who are not Asian are like, oh, I like BTS, like I get a little shocked. It like surprises me because I'm like, you like BTS? Like, you know what BTS is? Like, you know what K-pop is? And so I think I dare to say that BTS really took not just K-pop, not just the Korean culture, but like Asian culture overall and like having people know that like what Asia is or like that Asians can be equally as beautiful, as talented. I think I dare to say that BTS really did that. And so for me, I think that's how it changed for me, like how comfortable I am in my identity and being Asian, and like showing that to people who are not Asian, you know? And like now I'm not scared to be like, yeah, I like BTS, you know? But
We're
then
wearing merch.
Yeah, and I'm wearing merch. Like I would wear this on the street, but if it was like 20 years ago, I would not do that.
That really speaks, I think, to what we were talking about being in the Korean diaspora as well. I mean, I think it was, you know, we're fans first of the music and BTS and the choreography, the video, all of that stuff. But it was actually going to the concerts and being in a crowd of like 60,000 people, you know, most of them not Korean, all of them being able to sing in unison in Korean. You know, like that really was kind of the impetus for me, at least, just like who are these people? Who are we? You know, how did we get here? And that's really the sort of the spark for the documentary, Forever We Are Young. You know, like ARMY is as diverse as the world itself. And what does that mean in this moment?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's beautiful that the film presents so well what it was like for Asian fans, for Korean fans to see themselves, for non-Asian fans. And even though, you may have just focused on certain fandoms in certain regions, I still felt like it had such global appeal because I'm American Latino, right? So like I feel like there was like intersections of things. And being able just to see that at its core, what brings all these people together is just a shared love for these artists that have spanned such a long time in their career, have gone through so many different phases. Like I do like that you mentioned earlier that like there's ARMY who joined at whatever phase you joined at, like maybe you joined pre-debut, maybe you joined debut, maybe you joined Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Wings. You went through something different because the music may have been a bit different at that time, but same energy, same kind of bond that keeps you at least still interested till today.
And then I'm curious, can you talk to us about the title of the documentary, Forever We Are Young?
Yeah, sure. So Forever We Are Young is a lyric in the song Epilogue Young Forever. It's that song is sung by BTS at this historic moment at Wembley Stadium in 2019. It's this moment where, unbeknownst to BTS, ARMY sings the chorus back to BTS. And it's this really beautiful, gorgeous moment that sort of encapsulates like the relationship between BTS and ARMY. And yeah, I mean, the lyrics themselves really sort of explore this relationship and what's meaningful about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it captures a lot of the spirit that we wanted to represent in the film of ARMY and BTS's sort of synergy and symbiosis, which is like that together we will stay young forever, and not like literally young, but just kind of holding on to the spirit of youth and rebellion and speaking yourself and being true to yourself. And a lot of the song also speaks to the fear of this moment kind of disappearing. And I think, but the idea is like the song's really reassuring because knowing that we always will have each other forever, right? So I think there's kind of a message there that we wanted to communicate through the film, and I think the title of the film kind of captures that message from the song. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is just the emphasis on we, forever we are young, right? It's everything about ARMY and BTS is about this relationship that's kind of interconnected and inseparable. So I really like that part of the title as well. Even, in the very beginnings when this film was just an idea, we were calling it Forever We Are Young. So that happens pretty rarely. You usually change the title and stuff, but I love that it has just sort of stuck through, our development and, production and even to post-production. It feels really right for this movie.
Yeah. And Hwang was my favorite era of BTS. Right.
Me too. Me too.
It's making me want to cry right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Such a beautiful title.
And I think people need to watch the movie to understand how beautiful that moment was.
Oh, truly. Chills. Like I got chills.
I was almost tears streaming down from my face.
Yeah, it's a scene. It's, I've watched it how many times? Hundreds of times in different edits. And it still is incredibly moving because the emotions are so out in front. And I think that's what we really try to accomplish with the film, or try to do with the film, is to like bring us into these moments where BTS and ARMY together can really feel together and be together.
I will say though, when I saw the title of the film, I was like, oh, okay, great. Like I love that. I love that line from that song. Great. And seeing that moment, I will not say too much because it is a really beautiful moment in the movie. It really, really touched me because it felt so full circle. Like that, I've been a fan since they debuted in 2013, but that actual album run to the repackage was like one of the most core memories for me because it was like one of the first times that I feel like I really saw myself in like the stories they were telling during that era. And it coincidentally is like, for me, like it's like comes right before the huge jump they had.
Right.
And so for me, it felt very much like, oh my gosh, like even though so much has changed, they still maintain that same essence that they had way back when.
I think it captures that fear of like, is this moment going to last? Like this feeling of being together and like, I never want it to end, and having that fear of it ending. And the idea is that it never will end. We will hold it with us forever, right? They've changed our lives, and that's always going to be a part of our journey in this world. So.
Yeah.
Is there any memorable behind the scenes stories that you have from making the film?
I mean, one thing we should say is we have a lot of Army on our team. Our assistant editor was Army, our associate producer. We've turned our producer into Army. Everyone, the
Love
editors,
that.
like now they all have biases, and it was just really fun.
Oh.
I think we really tried to like bring the fun and values and care and community of Army into our production. And I feel like we did that. I had an amazing time. We like saw movies together, some of the concert movies together. While working,
Aw.
we went to J Hope together. We're gonna go see Jin. Behind the scenes was really special.
Yeah, and I would say like just for the friendships we formed with the fans in the movie. I mean, those are lifelong at this point. I feel like even after production was done, we keep in touch. We make sure each other's okay. We're constantly checking in on each other. Some of us went to J Hope together, and so it's just like the magic of Army, right? Is that there, these friendships you form, they feel like indestructible. And so for me, that was kind of what you're not seeing on screen is that, right? That we're kind of like building this community also with the fans in the movie.
It truly is that phrase that's like, it's the friends we made along the way.
Yes.
But, moving forward with that though, once this movie does come out, what do you hope Army takes away from it?
I mean, I think for me, it's like the message of BTS's music. We're better together. We're better as a collective. Anything is possible when we work together and organize together and strategize together, and never forget what we accomplished. I mean, Army and BTS together like made history. We literally made history, right? And so just never forget that and what we made happen together. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and on top of that, I'm really happy to hear that you felt seen. I'm hoping that, we've had a lot of comments from people who are able to see the film in festivals. Like they really want to bring their parents or their partners, just to understand what it is that this Army thing has been all about, and I think I hope that can happen, so people bring their friends and family to the screenings. Yeah, and hopefully, just the experience of actually being in community. I think that's so hard these days because we're just watching things on our, screens and stuff. But coming into a theater, it's kind of like going to a concert, It's just like this opportunity to really be together and like enjoy together, laugh, cry, scream, fan chant, all of those things. We hope that can happen too.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen this film at this point. How many times have we seen it, Grace? Like with
Hundreds.
Army? I mean,
yeah. With Army, not
with
not
Army.
hundreds,
I mean, we've seen it hundreds of times before, before the debut of the film. But watching it in the theater each time has been so unique, and every experience has been so powerful that it's almost like, it just makes the experience of watching the film new every time. So, yeah.
When we watched the film, there was so much screaming. So I think
Yes.
it's safe to say that it will 100% happen. At one point, we were like, should we wear headphones? Because like people were screaming. It was the whole time.
Oh yeah, and they had light sticks with them too.
And then they were like, the fan chants were loud and clear.
Yeah.
It was a concert.
It was a concert. It was like a mini concert.
Yeah.
I'd say you guys succeeded in that. I truly do feel like once Army at large gets to see this film, whether it's Army with their partners, their friends, their family, everyone will have something to take away. And at the end, truly just like a respect for the fandom, a respect for the group, and just amazement in what you can do when you have people who just enjoy the same thing, who have a goal in mind,
Yeah. And what's next for both of you creatively then?
Yes.
What are the next steps?
I'm very invested in how this movie comes out. We want to make sure as many people see it as possible. So that's really this current focus. But I'm developing a couple of other ideas, one fiction, one nonfiction, little not baked enough to talk about, but I can only hope that we can, that I can experience again the joy and fun that we had making this film and putting this film out there. So I'm using that. I'm holding on to that as I think about the next project.
Mm.
I'm working on a project about K-pop. Not totally ready to talk about it, but it's a little bit more serious in tone. So nothing will be as fun and unique as this experience of making this documentary. But other than that, I'm like my calling is in the classroom. I'm a professor. I'm a teaching professor. And I teach courses on K-pop. And of course, BTS takes up a good 3 out of 10 weeks of my quarter. And so I just, my plans are just to kind of stay in the classroom and keep kind of inspiring young people. And that's it. Yeah.
Everybody wants to take Patty's class,
Yeah.
actually.
I was gonna say,
I was
where
just
were
gonna
you
say
when
that.
I was in college?
Me too. I want to take a K-pop class now.
You know what the homework is? It's like choreography, learning choreography. I mean, not the only homework, but
That is so fun.
The way we'd be A++++ students, like you'd never get rid of us.
You'd be like, Professor, when are your office hours? And then it would just be like a 10-hour talk. And you'd be
Yeah.
like, please leave.
I would do a PhD just to continue taking your class and keep talking about this.
That is so fun.
Honestly, though, I learn from the students way more than they learn from me. Like, I mean, every quarter, fans are experts, right, of their groups, of their own experiences. So I'm constantly learning from the students themselves. So it's a mutual exchange. I'm learning as much as they're learning. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so this has been an amazing conversation about BTS,
I don't want this to
ARMY.
end.
I know. We could go on forever, but
we will
we
pause.
are young. Yes. Yes, no, but in the interest of your time and making sure we can get to the next section, let's head on to the next one.
Yeah, let's head on to the
Weverse wrap up.
Oh my gosh. This week on Weverse Wrap Up, there's so much to talk about.
I know.
But in this section, we give updates on what has been happening on Weverse, what has been happening in the K-pop world. What are your highlights?
So my highlights, it's looking pretty gnarly because
Okay. So gnarly.
so gnarly because Cat's Eye actually this week just released Gabriella.
Woo! Honestly, I think Katsai is having such a good moment because every single time they come out, it's like different colors. And then
Different
they all
colors.
suit them so well. So proud of these girls and so excited to see how Gabriella is going to be received by everyone and how they're going to continue to perform.
Yeah, I just like seeing a group that is newer come with so many different looks and sounds already.
Mhm.
Like I think that's just I never know what to expect.
Yeah. And talking about Katsai is about to drop their second EP called Beautiful Chaos.
Let's go.
So if you want more information about that, check out their Weverse community for more detailed stuff. So
And as our lovely guest spoke about earlier, Jin is actually going to kick off his Run Seokjin tour in Korea on the 28th.
Ooh, exciting.
I know.
See you there. See you there.
See you there.
Everyone
See everybody there. Yeah. And then lastly, we actually have a very special birthday.
Our Weverse artist.
I know our very own Weverse artist, Ariana Grande, celebrates her birthday on the 26th. So
Happy birthday,
tomorrow.
Ari.
Happy birthday, Ari.
Excited to see Wicked.
Oh, yeah, part 2. So excited.
Mhm. Yeah, and that has been
The Weverse wrap-up.
So in today's Fanzo, we will be going over to Korea to talk to some of the folks that have attended the BTS Festa and just to get to know their stories, just like the documentary. We're going to get a little bit of their personal stories of how their ARMY journey is going.
Yeah, so let's cut to that right now.
We came from Melbourne, Australia.
I came from the Philippines. I'm from the Philippines, but I was traveling from Abu Dhabi, UAE.
I'm also from the Philippines, but I live in Los Angeles, California.
I traveled from California.
I actually live here in South Korea right now in Pyeongtaek, just about 70 kilometers south of Seoul.
I traveled from Atlanta, Georgia, in the US.
I'm from Indonesia.
I'm from the Netherlands, and you are?
From the Netherlands.
I came from the Philippines.
Philippines?
Yeah.
I traveled to South Korea from the island of Guam.
We've waited for so long for them to come back as a whole, and hopefully we get to see them.
I have to redeem all this sadness and I have, all the tears that I shed.
We all miss them so much. It's been 3 years.
So this is my first Festa, and given the fact that all of them are coming out of the military, I knew this would be my first.
Well, I think because it's like the comeback of the guys, and this one is particular special.
We actually came specifically for this. Yeah, the timing, the Korea date.
Kinetic.
Kinetic on air.
I like Spring Day.
For me, there's a special place in my heart for Love Maze.
Answer Love Yourself. It spoke to me when I needed it the most. And I started, like loving myself more.
For me as well, it's Magic Shop. It's okay to get lost sometimes.
I like that part where you show me the best of me and I'll show you the best of you. So for me, that spoke to me as well. As well as Spring Day, only because of course Shipuyo.
For me, it's Truth Untold. And when I traveled to Thailand, I actually got a tattoo representing that song.
Mine is Microcosmos. I actually have a lyric from it tattooed on me as well.
I think the theme song right now is 0 o'clock, so I'll go with that one. And it's very meaningful for me.
Spring Day. I just feel like when I hear this song, my heart feels like warm. Yeah, something like that.
I want to say 0 o'clock. It reminds me that every day is a new day. And even though we go through hardships or whatever in the past, there's always going to be a reset to your day. So 0 o'clock is your key to a new beginning.
I think for me, it's probably Spring Day. A song of patience and knowing that there's going to be reward at the end. And especially during COVID was really appropriate. And it really made me think of my parents.
Is a community of friends. We come from all sorts of backgrounds, all different jobs, but we all come together under one thing, and that's to appreciate each other and to love one another.
I like the tight-knit bond that ARMY has. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you meet someone that you've never met before, they just kind of like embrace you. So that's pretty cool. So that's how we actually met. And we've been cool friends since then.
It's just like one big family, all because of our lovely 7 boys.
And it's easy to start small talks with anyone. If you see anyone on the train, on the bus that have anything BTS related, you can just look at them, and then they look at you back, and then you smile, and you're connected, diba? It's the boys that connects ARMY, and it's not just a fandom. Like what she said, it's a family.
Most of them like the same story on how they became an ARMY. It's most of them, they needed somebody to be there for them when that time in their life when they were so down and they didn't know what to do, and they were saved by BTS.
There are a lot of foundations that they have founded, helping other people in need, even if they are not fan of K-pop or not even an ARMY. They are having projects here and there to help people in our society, and also to give glory and give honor to BTS.
I've been to several places and met ARMY, and I'm surprised for like how kind the community is. It's like it's difficult to describe to a non-ARMY what it's like to be part of a community and share this kind of things together. Yeah.
So I think we all share the same type of vision, and we all look to BTS in the same way. And we just find comfort with them and also with each other. I know it sounds so crazy and cheesy, but it's true.
ARMY are also like the protector of BTS. We are there for them.
After a while, when I listened to Blue and Gray for the first time, and I listened to the song and the lyric made me cry. And I realized that, oh my God, I think I became an ARMY because I cannot stop.
I was listening to their songs already during COVID, but you know how when you were segregated from everyone and everyone was in quarantine, and for me, they were the ones who brought it like my happiness. That was it for me. I was like, it solidified it for me that time.
For me, it was May 16, 2019. That was the exact date, because I was randomly scrolling my Facebook timeline, and then I saw their performance from Stephen Colbert, if I remember. It looks like Beatles.
What I like most about them is their transparency. What you see is what you get.
I would say in 2020 or 2019, when I first saw the Idol music video, and that sent me down the rabbit hole. I was like, this is so cool, and that's where I started.
When I got to see how close their friendship was and how important it is for them, like building relationships, I knew that this was the group for me. Yeah.
Be stronger and stay healthy. Be happy with the way they are.
Borahe.
Apple Bangko.
Yeah.
Yes. Forever.
Army forever, yeah.
Ooh, if I could tell them that, welcome back. We missed you all. And let's have a fun years to go together. Grow together. 사랑해요. 보라해. Apple Bangko.
Just want to say to them, thank you so much for being the support that I needed.
Thank you so much. We're kind of just shining this light of beacon. Like it's like a ray of sunshine.
Dear BTS, thank you so much for all the songs. Inspired us so much.
Welcome home, my dearest. Thank you for saving our lives. I hope you continue to do great music. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. And I hope that we will be forever celebrating 613.
You guys are working so hard. The messages you send to everyone around the world is uplifting and saving lives. And even though they don't see that,
Just keep doing what they're doing.
And be happy. Be happy. Yeah. We're happy, but I hope they are happy as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Patty and Grace, again for today's episode. I think we're both like sponges. We're just like absorbing each other's energy and like love and care for BTS, but also seeing how like the community is just continuing to grow. And we have such special documentaries such as Forever We Are Young to talk about that perspective, to platform fans' voices is really, really special.
Yes. And from one army to another, truly, thank you so much for your effort in making this film, for your care. I like to everyone listening and watching, once this is out, please, I urge you to watch it, because no matter where you are in the fandom or where your family is in the fandom,
even if you don't know BTS.
Yeah, even if you don't know BTS, it is such a beautifully well-made film that you're going to enjoy.
And for fans who are interested in knowing more about Pod in the Verse or our Spanish version, Don El Verso, we're going to leave a QR code here for you to learn more about us. And Patty and Grace, let us know how we can find you. Let us know all the information about Forever We Are Young, how we can find that as well.
How can people keep in touch with what's going on?
Well, if you want to keep in touch with what's going on, you can sign up for the newsletter at btsarmymovie.com.
Thank you so much again. Do you have any
parting words?
Any parting words to say?
Great.
Well, thank you again for inviting us. It's been super fun just chatting about the movie. It's been a minute since we've done that. I just want to say thank you from Army to Army, and also any Army who are listening and any non-Army who are listening. We really welcome you to come be in community with the movie, and we'd love to hear from you once you see it. So that's what we live for as filmmakers. Like, how do people react, right?
Yeah, I just want to thank you both for having us on here. It was a blast, again, talking from fans to fans. And I loved hearing a little bit about your Army stories as well. We just encourage Army to go see the film, see it with your friends, see it with community. It's meant to be a collective experience. We made this film for you all. And we hope you feel moved and inspired as much as we have making this movie. Yeah.
Borahe.
Borahe.
Beautiful parting
Apple
words. Borahe.
Army forever, Baka forever.
Well, this has been Cece.
This has been Chris Molly.
This has been Grace.
This is Patty.
And this has been Pod in the Verse. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Borahe.
Borahe.